Hey guys, welcome back to this Flutter game development series where we are making a 2D top-down space shooter called Spacescape using the Flame engine. In the previous video, we added this power-up class using which we were able to create some more power-up classes like Nuke, Health, Freeze and Multiplier. And we also tested all these powers by manually adding them to the game world. So in this video, I'm going to implement a power-up manager which will take care of placing random power-ups at random places in the game world at regular interval of time. It will be very similar to the enemy manager component. For this, let's create a new file under game directory called powerupmanager.dart. And as this component will behave very similar to enemy manager, let's just copy all the code from enemymanager.dart into this file. Next, I'll remove all the comments from this file because they were originally written for enemy manager. Okay, with that out of the way, let's first rename this class and its constructor from enemy manager to powerup manager. And unlike enemy manager, powerup manager does not need reference to any sprite sheet. So I'll remove this sprite sheet field and the required sprite sheet parameter from the constructor. And we also don't need this sprite.dart import now, so I'll remove that as well. Now, this class contains two timers and a random number generator. To make it clear what the first timer does, I'll rename it to spawn timer. Next, in the constructor, you can see that spawn timer is initialized with a duration of 1 second. This means new power up will get spawned every second, which I feel is a little too frequent. So let's change this to 5 seconds. Next, let's rename this spawn enemy callback to spawn power up. This callback will be responsible for generating a new power-up object and adding it to the game world. So in this callback, we already have an initial size and a random position which is clamped so that the power-up does not go outside the screen. Now we just have to take care of creating a new power-up, setting its anchor to center and then adding it to the game ref. All the other methods like onMount, onRemove, update, reset and freeze will remain as they are. Okay. So now, to be able to select any one of the all available power-ups, I'll add an enum at the top called power-up types. This enum will have 4 types: health, freeze, nuke and multiplier. Now inside the power-up manager class, I'll create a static map with key as power-up types and value as a function which returns an object of power-up. Let's also add a position and size parameter to this function so that we can pass it to the power-up being created. I'll name this map as power-up map. Now let's add first entry to this map. I'll begin with key as powerup type.health and value as a function which takes position and size as input and returns an object of health. I'll forward the position and size parameter to this health power-up. Now let's quickly add entries for remaining 3 power-ups. Okay. Next, we'll have to use this map in spawn powerup method to create a random powerup. This means we just have to select one of the 4 enum types and use it as key to get a value from the map. So to do that, in the spawn powerup method, after clamping position, I'll get a random integer called random index using random.nextInt. And as input to nextInt, I'll pass the powerup types.value.length. This makes sure that generated random integer is greater than or equal to 0 but strictly less than given max number. Once we have this random index, we can get the function from powerup map with key as powerup types.values.element at random index. And once we have this function, we can use it by calling the call method on it and passing in position and initial size as input. As the index operator of map can return null, I'll use the conditional operator while calling methods on fn. Next, let's store the return type of this function call in a variable called powerup. And now this enemy creation code can be deleted. I'll also change the anchor of this new powerup to anchor.center. And similar to fn, this powerup can also be null. So let's use conditional operator while accessing anchor. Finally, if the powerup is not null, we can add it to the game ref using add method. And while we are here, let's change the y coordinate of this position vector. I'll just copy the code from x coordinate and change gamesize.x to gamesize.y. This makes sure that position of power up is completely random. So this completes the power up manager class. Now let's go to the game.dart file and add a component of this class to the game world. First, I'll create a late power up manager field just like enemy manager. Then in the onload method, just after adding an enemy manager, I'll create a power up manager and add it to the game. Now we can remove the temporary code from previous video which we had added for testing the power ups. Next, in the reset method of this class, I'll call powerupmanager.reset just after resetting enemy manager. And once that is done, I'll duplicate this code and change the type to powerup so that all the power-ups are removed from the game world. Next, let's go to the powerups.dart file. Here, in the onActivated method of freeze power, we'll have to freeze powerup manager too. So I'll register one more command targeted towards powerup manager, which will call the freeze method on it. And that is it. Now if I build and run this code, we should have a working powerup manager in the game world. So exactly after 5 seconds, we got this first power up. And as you can see, we are getting random power-ups after every 5 seconds. Also, if I pause the game in between, the power-up manager also gets paused and no new power-up gets spawned. And if I restart the game, you can see that the existing power-up also got removed from the game world. So everything seems to be working exactly as expected. And that was all for this video. We now have a working power-up system in this game. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, do hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing for more such content. I hope to see you in the next one.